This is our second video for Chapter 7. This is Chapter 7, Section 2, Polygons in the Coordinate Plane. What you'll learn in this video is to graph polygons in a coordinate plane. And remember, an integer is any positive or negative whole number and zero. There are three vocabulary terms you need to look for and define in this video. They are horizontal line, vertical line, and distance. When you see them in the video, be sure to pause the video and copy their definition into your notebook. Let's look at the terms for this video. A horizontal line is a straight line that extends from left to right. So in the graph on the screen, you'll see AB is a horizontal line because it goes straight from left to right or right to left. A vertical line is a straight line that goes up and down. MN is a vertical line because it goes straight up and down. Now, the distance between 2 points is the length of the line segment that connects them. If 2 points on a horizontal line are on opposite sides of the y-axis, such as A and B, the distance between them is the sum of the absolute values of the x-coordinates. If the points are on the same side of the y-axis, the distance between them is the difference of the absolute values of the x-coordinates. Since distance is always positive, always subtract the lesser absolute value from the greater absolute value. Similarly, the distance between 2 points on a vertical line is the sum of opposite sides of the x-axis, or the difference if they're on the same side of the x-axis, of the absolute values of the y-coordinates. I want to take a minute to talk about absolute value. You should have learned about it last year, and we were discussing it on the previous screen. But just in case you've forgotten what absolute value means, it just means the physical distance from 0 on a number line. So -2 and 2 have a different value, but their absolute value for both of them is 2 because it's their physical distance from 0. So if we look at 2 and -2 on the number line and start at 0, 2 places to get to 2, but also 2 places to get to -2. When you're talking about absolute value, it's just the physical distance of the number from 0 on the number line. A lot of times in a problem, when it says it wants the absolute value, it's written inside 2 brackets like this. So if I give you -10 inside the brackets, it means I want you to use the absolute value of -10. So if we look at -10 on our number line, we can count to see what the absolute value of it is. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 physical spaces from 0 on the number line. Even though it's a negative number, its absolute value is still plain 10. So when you're talking about absolute value, it does not matter if it's positive or negative. An absolute value is always a positive number, even if the one you're trying to figure out is a negative absolute value. So even if it's -476, the absolute value is always going to be positive 476 because it's the physical distance, and you never have a negative distance. There's always some distance between a beginning point and an ending point. Let's look at an example of using a coordinate plane to find distance. We want to find the distance from E to F. So our point E to point F. We want to figure out what the distance is between those 2 points. So E is located at 4, -2. and F is located at 4, 3. So E and F have the same x-coordinates because it's a straight line. So it makes a vertical line. So we have to use the absolute value of -2 plus the absolute value of 3. Those are our x-coordinates and our y-coordinates, and they are on opposite sides of the x-axis. So since they're on opposite sides of the x-axis, we're adding them rather than subtracting them. So the absolute value of -2 is 2, and the absolute value of +3 is 3. So 2 plus 3 is 5. So the distance between E and F is 5. If those points had been on the same side of the x-axis, we would have subtracted. But since the points are on opposite sides of the x-axis, we added them. Pause the video and try these 3 in your notebook. Be sure to put them in the exercises section for your video notes and number them 1A, 1B, 1C, and show all your work. Let's look at another example of using a coordinate plane to find distance. Say you're a landscaper, and a landscape designer uses a rectangle that has the coordinates -3, 4, 2, 4, 2, 1, and -3, 1 to represent a shed in a yard. What is the perimeter of the shed? Each unit of length represents 1 meter, so that is the scale of the graph we're shown here. Well, first we have to graph the 4 points. So on our coordinate plane, we've graphed our -3, 4, 2, 4, 2, 1, and -3, 1. Then we need to connect the points to make a rectangle. Step 3, we have to find the length of the sides. For sides 1 and 3, for each segment, the endpoints are on opposite sides of the x-axis. So we have to add the absolute values of the x-coordinates. On sides 2 and 4 for each segment, the endpoints are on the same side of the y-axis. So we're going to subtract the absolute values of the y-coordinates. So for sides 1 and 3, we're doing the absolute value of 2 plus the absolute value of -3 to get 5. And on sides 2 and 4, we're doing the absolute value of 4 minus the absolute value of 1 to get the value of 3. Then we're just going to add the lengths. So 5 plus 3 plus 5 plus 3 gets us to 16. The reason we have 5 and 3 twice is the 5 are sides 1 and 3, and the 3 is sides 2 and 4. Pause the video and try this one in your notebook. Be sure to number it number 2 and show all your work. When two ordered pairs have one set of coordinates that are the same, and the other coordinates are opposites, the points are reflections of each over an axis. When a point is reflected over the y-axis, the x-coordinates are opposites. And when a point is reflected over the x-axis, the y-coordinates are opposites. What this means is, if it's reflected over the y-axis, your points would be 3, 0, and -3, 0. If they're going to be reflected over the x-axis, the y-coordinates are opposites. So it would be 0, 3, and 0, -3. Let's look at an example of reflecting points. How is point 3, 2 related to -3, 2? The y-coordinate for each point is the same, 2. The x-coordinate 3 and -3 are opposites, so the point is reflected over the y-axis. Sometimes if you make a t-graph, it makes seeing this information a little easier. So if we listed our points, we would have 3, 2, and -3, 2. So listing them that way, it's very easy to see that the y values are the same and that the x values are opposites. And remember, if the x values are opposites, it means the point is reflected over the y-axis. Pause the video and try this one in your notebook. Be sure to number it number 3 and show how you figured it out. So they want to know, how is point 25 related to point 2, -5? So you need to tell me what they have in common, and if there's a reflection, which axis is it reflected across? Now it's time to check your understanding. Be sure to label this as check your understanding in your video notes. Number all the questions and show how you figured everything out. Enjoy the rest of your evening, and I'll see you tomorrow.